what if I told you ever since you've been on social media, you've been being manipulated? I'm sure some of you already know this, but some of you have no clue what I'm talking about. So allow me to explain. In Red Dead Redemption, there's an honor meter for your character. You do something dishonorable, it moves a little bit in the direction of evil. You do something good, like saving people from bandits, it moves in the direction of good. Now, if you don't know this isn't just a mechanic in a video game. Every individual has this meter in real life, whether they're aware of it or not. You lie, someone finds out, you may not notice because maybe you're not an introspective person, but everyone is judging you in a different light, or rather, in this case, a different darkness. Not only did you do something dishonorable, so everyone who knows about your dishonorable action views you with a darker light, but this also makes the people who know about it look at the moral landscape of the world with a darker light as well. After all, if their friend did a dishonorable action and would lie to me, or something of that case, then I couldn't imagine how someone would try and get one over on me who doesn't even know me. Most people from this would feel despair. This, of course, is a trap, a self-defense mechanism, so you are more cautious and don't let bad things happen to you. When you get the rug pulled out from underneath you, your map of Zawao, though, doesn't match with what reality is. This makes you produce negative emotion, of course, and because of this, you must make a new map of the world. Now that we understand this, it is time to look at the biggest trap of them all. And no, I'm not talking about Astolfo. I'm talking about the biggest trap in the world to tilt the world meter into the despair category. And that is, of course, the virus of the internet, which are social media platforms like Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And all of this isn't Zuck the Cuck's fault or the dorks at Twitter. Clearly not. Somehow, despite the fact that Hope won at the end of Danganronpa 2, Junko was clearly still able to somehow upload her personality. Not into bodies of people, but clearly on all social media platforms so that she could inflict the world with despair. Junko, the ultimate fashionista, also known as the ultimate despair, was able to throw the world into complete turmoil and make the world suffer with despair. Now tell me, what happens when you go onto a platform like Twitter and you see something that enrages you? It's Junko, obviously. The world really isn't that bad. Many of you, I'm sure, are into politics, and some of you scour Twitter and Facebook reading comments, and you'll of course see someone who completely disagrees with you. And maybe they said what they said in a way that you didn't like or thought was said condescendingly about people with your certain viewpoint. So you reply back and say something even more condescending and nasty. And because of this starts a chain reaction of you arguing with the person you originally replied to, with more people jumping in on your side and your so-called opponent's side. And pretty much a bunch of nasty things get said. That's Junko Enoshima at her finest. This is what someone like her wants. The problem with social media is that it gives you the despair virus, so everyone you see that disagrees with you is an enemy. You don't perceive these comments as real people because all you're seeing is text. And well, sometimes they're literally not even real people. I'm sure there's millions and millions of bots on Twitter alone just trying to talk shit to you from government agencies, literally just to cause despair and turmoil among people who disagree with each other to collapse Western democracy. And of course the Western countries are doing the same thing as well. I'm not that naive. But if you think about this, it's very interesting because this is exactly what Junko Enoshima would do. Or if she wouldn't think of it, she'd think it's a genius idea, a great way to spread despair. And most people on social media platforms fall for this trap. And this is exactly why the title of this video is called Junko Owns You. Maybe it should have been called Junko Owns the World because social media controls the thoughts of others, which in doing so controls the world. But there's no need to split hairs on a title. Regardless, if you're one of the people who fell for this trap, you are owned. Let's look at the example from Naruto. Sasuke is so engrossed by despair that Itachi placed upon his life that he even attempts to kill Naruto, his best friend, multiple times in the series. And honestly, seems like he would have at the valley if Naruto didn't have the Nine-Tails Fox spirit inside of him. Because of the despair Sasuke felt, he almost killed a very good person, who later becomes the savior of the Leaf Village and then the savior of the entire world, as well as being the shining ultimate hope who led the world to peace after the war and bringing everyone together. One action by Sasuke could have left the entire world in despair. Now, just from this example, we can see how someone's entire life can be controlled by despair, and in doing so, almost left the world without hope, with only despair. But this isn't just a fictional story, this is real life. You are in charge of how much hope this world has, and you are also in charge of how much despair this world has. Which one do you want to be? Junko Enoshima or Giga Chad Makoto Naegi? Do you want to be someone more like Michael Vick, the dog killer, or someone like Gandhi? It's your choice. A very interesting quote by Jordan Peterson. I believe it's, "Everything you do matters. Everything." Now, of course, picking up a pencil to write rather than a pen isn't much of a big deal. Not everything, but every moral choice you make not only has an effect on your character, but has an effect on the entire moral landscape of the world. So it's your choice, it really is. I'm sure many of you have been on the internet before and have seen something like this said. If you go outside and talk to somebody, you realize the internet makes the world way worse than it actually is. This, of course, is true. I had a job where I would meet many different people every day, and I would talk to some of them for quite a while, and eventually maybe we'd talk about something personal or political. This one example in particular was when I was talking to this guy around the same age as I, and me and him had completely different tastes in politics, and we disagreed on many different things, but we never once got mad at each other or raised our voices. In fact, between the sentences of disagreement, we were laughing and joking around, and we had a really fun hour-long conversation, even though a lot of it was disagreeing. The thing that made us not get mad or annoyed with each other, I suspect, is because we were actually trying to understand what each other thought and why we thought that way, which nowadays is harder for people to do because they are so enraged by the people they disagree with on Twitter, that they put people who disagree with them into a box, and that box reads, "Idiots who can't perceive the world the same way I can because they're intellectually under me." But people need to realize that being on the internet and looking at the bunch of nasty things people say is Junko Enoshima putting you into despair. If people acted how badly they do on Twitter, as they do in real life, then everybody would be at each other's throats constantly. So, since that's obviously not good and nobody wants that, wouldn't the opposite be a good alternative? A life of truly trying to tilt the world morality meter into hope. No lies, only honor, and only hope. To quote Makoto Naegi, "If the world outside is void of hope and despair is contagious, then I'll have to infect everyone with my hope." If something bad happens to you like Sasuke, what good would it be to make the world suffer? Are you really that weak that you want everyone to suffer just as much as you? Most people don't like multivariant problems, obviously. When something bad happens to them, they blame the world and think, "Aw, shucks, this world sucks, everybody sucks, I hope you all burn." And, well, if you do think like that, just note that the Columbine killers also thought like that, so you're moving in a really bad linear direction if that's the case. And if that is the case, you've been infected by Junko. You are owned. Instead, you should look at all the variables to something negative. For me, for example, you could call me Nagito Komaida, because I'm truly the ultimate lucky student. Whenever something has ever bad happened to me, let's say there was one negative, or two negatives, there'd be way more pluses. There'd be at least 10 pluses to the situation. Of course, this isn't only luck, but a mindset, a good mindset to have. And let me explain. No, some things are so awful that can happen to you that there's really no positive. But a reminder, just because something bad does happen to you does not mean it's actually bad. It may seem bad, but it's only what you make out of it. Have a hopeful mindset, see what this means, not just a linear way of thinking, or else you'll be stricken with the despair disease and only add the despair to the world. Honestly, if you are one to try to inflict despair on the world, you're nothing more than a dog that has been bitten too many times, and now you have self-defense mechanisms, so you don't get hurt again, but instead you do the hurting. So it's your choice. Be a dog, or be a sophisticated human. Be big Giga Chad, Makoto Naegi, or be a royal bitch like Junko Enoshima. It's up to you. The world is in your hands. Don't think of yourself as nothing, because every action matters. Anyways, I'll leave that video there. I'm Audi500. See you later.